Welcome to another episode of Trucker Talk. I hope everybody's having a good afternoon. I hope your weekend has been good also. Today, today's been a good day. My past week has been it's been an interesting week. And the thing about it, I'm making these adjustments and I'm loving my new job. Like me, I'm the type of person I like a challenge, but it seems like the as when I was younger, I didn't like change. It seemed like I would be like, nah, I can't do I would always try to navigate or avoid things. But it seems like the older I get, the more situations that approach me, they can be they can be a little iffy. So at a young age, well, I'm not even gonna say at a young age, but I just learned to make adjustments and stuff like that. So, yeah, this weekend has been interesting. Me, I'm making these adjustments, and my my niece and nephew they crack me up because before I would get them after I would come from Atlanta, and just spend that time with them from the time I get off work to the time to go to bed. Now it's flip flop. Well, it's flip flop, but I'm going in at midnight, and I'm getting off in the morning. So basically, they probably either just getting up or they're eating breakfast, and so then they lay down and take them a nap. So man, but I tell you, these kids they got a I don't know if it's in the food, but they got some energy because they my niece she gets so hyped up, but we had a good time and I enjoy that. Like that's my joy that brings joy to my life when I think about mental health and I think about the times in the past things that I dealt with, but when my son was younger and when I was spending time with him, it's like that took away from that helped me out as far as being a parent. It helps you in your mental in a way, and so it's a good thing. So with my niece and nephew, they just wild. They kept me up, and I always tell them like, man, they wore me out. But it's like they went to the next door. They was at my next door neighbor's house with me, and they was on a trampoline just jumping, and they had a blast. They had a blast. And I was thinking, I guess while I'm watching them, she's 3 and he's 5, and I'm thinking about when I was a kid, like how much fun that was. And I told him real quick, I was like, man, I am not sitting, I ain't getting on no trampoline because being 40, I'm telling you, after 2 rotator cuff surgeries, if I slip, fall, or I ain't doing it. So I will enjoy watching you all have fun and enjoy yourselves on the trampoline. So enjoy yourselves, and they just had a blast, and it brings joy to my spirit to um, spend that time with him. And in my other niece, Makai, we're gonna do an episode, but it'll probably be I want to say soon, but it's gonna be coming up. I just have to work my schedule around. And she's beautiful. She's a mess. she she is. And the thing about being an uncle is you get to watch, see their different personalities, and they all have different personalities. And Makai, she's she's honest, and she will basically just tell you she'll tell you the business. And she don't hold back. She ain't got no filters, but I love her. She's a blessing. Malcolm Gassi, y'all doing a good job with her. She's a blessing. But today I want to talk about sacrifices. As I was leaving church today, I called Malachi, my son, just to just to check on him because it seems like I mean, as we're older, he's just getting in his career, collision repair. Me, I've been, like I said, I've been driving trucks for 19 years. Um, he's like it's like your lives. you have your different lives, but you still, you make that time. And so we were just having a conversation, and I was just telling him about my schedule, and I was just like, that, this and that. And he's just like, dang, that's all he could say. And I said, it's just one of those things. And so I went back with my dad, and I want to say this to my mother, my father. I thank you all for the sacrifices that you made for my brothers, and my sister, my other siblings. It's six of us. I have two older brothers, two brothers that's younger than me, and I have a baby sister. So I want to say thank you. Rest in peace to my father. Thank you, my mom and dad, for the sacrifices that you made. But I was telling my son, just explaining to him about things, and I'm gonna dive into the episode and talk about the sacrifices that I made as a father and how people not I'm not saying my son, but like when you see like all you see is a father that's tired. He might be irritated, he might be agitated, irritated. He might be a little upset, he may be in a bad mood all the time, but you never know what's going on with that man. Because as men, we tend to hold in things. We don't even we haven't learned to express ourselves. I mean, some men express themselves more than others. Me, I express myself now because I used to hold on to so much. And I was walking around like a ball of fire. I'm not even gonna lie. But I used to be like, yeah, I'm the tough guy. I'm a tough guy. I don't need, but now shoot, I I pick the phone up. There's certain individuals I call, and I ain't gonna say I'll unload, but I will bounce, I call it bouncing ideas, and I would throw stuff on the wall just back and forth and kind of just check myself, check my ego, make sure I'm not overstepping, or if I have something on my mind, we just talk about it. So, and I'm gonna say this quote. I love this quote. Fathers don't always say I love you. Sometimes they say it through 5 a.m. alarms, missed meals, and quiet strength. I'm gonna say that one more time. Fathers don't always say I love you. Sometimes they say it through 5 a.m. alarms, missed meals, and quiet strength. So I'm gonna dive into this. I want to share a personal story. Well, I'm gonna share a personal story. My son, by having that conversation with him today about the whole sacrifices, I want to talk about the sacrifices we made as a father. See the ones people see and the ones that they don't see. So when I think about sacrifices, and when I say sacrifices, some of the companies that I work for, that is a sacrifice because when I when I work for this one company, you got to think you're giving up, and I'm not complaining. It's just part of the sacrifices. I go back to when my son first was starting to drive, and he was getting his permit. But at the time, a good friend of mine, I was looking after him, and it was it was a tough period in my life because when I think back at that time, when you tell, I seen a quote, no, not a quote. I seen the clip by Ice Cube, no Ice T. I seen a clip by Ice T, and he says, when you tell somebody, hey, or when you tell somebody, I got you, or agree to do something for somebody, you just took it on all of their problems. And a lot of us don't think about that. Like I said, I'm not complaining. I'm blessed because the sacrifices that I made back then or when I was younger, it made me who I am today, but it made me appreciate things more. It made me appreciate family, friends, and just things in general. So I remember when I was working for this company, my son, he started driving. And I had 3 cars at the time. And it's like seemed like my days would run into each other. I was working probably 14 hours a day, or my routes was routed out for 14 hours a day. And so with my son, I was trying to teach him about car maintenance, and so we went out, we found him a car. So he's driving. First thing when he first got his car, like a week later or some days later, he said, "Daddy, I got a job." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I'm working these, wild, crazy hours. And but what kept me, my what motivated me, and what's always motivated me has been taking care of my son. And it's like, okay, my son needs this, my son needs that, everything that he needed. And as far as me loving him, I'm like, I have responsibility. He's my responsibility. So when it comes to his car, we of course kept the maintenance up, and me and his mother, we was like, as long as you're making good grades and doing this and that, you can work. So his first job was at Salsaritas, and he ended up getting a job at McDonald's. So he kept his grades up, but he worked. He worked, and I remember some times where when he would have car problems, you know, I would me talking to him, I would be like, "Hey, know," and I know I might have been short, but with my hours and with him being out in Maryville, let me make sure I said it, Maryville, however you say it. So just when we would swap cars, and I'd be like, "Listen," I'd be like, "Look, son, I need to meet you. Can you meet me here? We need to do this." Boom, boom, and I would swap cars out, put the car in the shop, and give him the spare car that I had. And so I think about that. At the time, I wasn't thinking about it, but I was just like, man, I mean, I was blessed to be able to do that. But I worked hard, and the sacrifices that I made then is what I set my son up. What we set, me and his mother, we set his future up for the future. So it was tough, but it was just like, it seems like I remember our camping trips. I remember the birthday parties and all of that. But when I took on that when I went to that new company, I'm talking, I was going out of town, and I was probably getting 4 hours of sleep. But I was working. I'm talking climbing, working at the side door, throwing, just it was a good job. It was a physical job. It was one of the most physical, mental jobs I've ever worked in my life. And then and there would be times I would ask myself, I'd be like, man, now when I say why am I doing this, my son was the reason why I was doing it. And even before then, I had moved out my parents' house. So it's like one of those things. I wanted to give back to my parents. So I gave back to them in every way and any way that I could. So when I took on, when I went to that other company, I was able to do more for them. So I wanted to show them, I wanted to just say thank you, like when stuff would tear up at their house, or if they needed, different things, I would be like, you know what, I got you, because y'all made those sacrifices for me. If it wasn't for you all being patient with me, you know, patient enough with me so I could move out and buy my first home. So I am grateful. I think about those things, and it made me, like I said, it makes you appreciate things more. So as far as um sacrifices, I think some people some people can take it for granted. And I've had some friends and just other people I've been around, and it's kind of like you step back and you're just like when you because I listen, I'm more I I step back and I listen to things and I look at it from a different point of view, and I'm just like, oh, okay, and I keep that in my mind. I'm like, that ain't right. So I'm learning as I getting older, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful. So I want to go to the solid struggles when it comes to sacrifices. When my friend that passed away in 2019, I think my whole in my life that was probably one of the quietest periods in my life because it was a struggle for me, and I think I had shut down, and I was it seemed like I was a whole nother person because you feel like something was taken away from you, but it wasn't. It's part of God's plan. Everybody. One thing we're promised when we're born, you are everybody's gonna die. We're all gonna die. Whether you go to heaven or hell, you are all going to die. That's just life. We all gonna transition. So I think with that situation, my purpose was my son, but when I was taking care of him and then I was taking care of other people, it seems like it just kind of it knocked me off balance a little bit. So it was a struggle. So sometimes, and I never forget that period. I was so strong, but I was broken, and I did decide to go seek some help. I went and I met with somebody, and I talked to them. I kind of just I had to do like a have a reset with my mind, reset because like I said, we practice habits. We can be in the same pattern. We can do things and be in the same routine and be okay with it, but it's not okay because you're not okay. You're not okay with being okay because you're not okay. That don't make sense, does it? So, how being a father feels like you're carrying the weight alone sometimes. You're not weak for feeling it. You're strong for still standing. So, and like I said again, I'm just reiterate the sacrifices we make in our earlier years or today is going to give you, uh, it'll give back to you in the long run. And when I go back to my son, I look at him as an investment. My son is an investment. I love him. The things that I invest in him, the encouragement, the words, uh, the all the advice that I have, even I'm not gonna say I give bad advice, but all of the advice that I mean, he says he's like, I listen, Dad. He told me, he said, Dad, all them times you think I wasn't listening, I was listening. He sounded just like me with my dad, because my dad would be like, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. So, but, but he was listening though, because he I said a lot. So, but moments that my child made me proud, he's always made me proud. He was, growing up, he was into sports. He started out with football, then he got into basketball. Then he's like, he kind of gave up football, but he graduated high school. And he's going to he went to collision repair school or TCAP, and now he's working on that and he finished that up. So I've always been proud of him, but I guess as a man, because we emulate what we see, and like when you're taught something, and I'm not taught something. Like my father was more, he was tough guy. And like I said, every parent shows love differently. So I had to learn and I had to look at other people to see how, they was doing things as parents because I didn't really know how to show that. So, but even to this day, I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm learning to listen and just, be there whenever my son needs to talk because it seems like I think with most people they don't have that with their parents and they have an estranged relationship with them. It's it's one of the two. So every sacrifice a father make is a seed planted in his child's future. The greatest sacrifice is when your own happiness for the sake of someone else's. Say that again. The greatest sacrifice is when your sacrifice is the greatest sacrifice is when you sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of someone else's. And I like that quote because sometimes we have to be selfless and not selfish. There's a lot of selfish people out there. There's a lot of it's a it's it's a me issue. They say I you me. It's a me issue most of the time. People are selfish. And I've learned and I believe that when you do things, I mean don't expect nothing in return. I learned the hard way with trying to lend friends money. But if they initiate the conversation, be like, hey, can I blah 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 blah, and I'm just like, okay, I don't I don't entertain it no more. I wouldn't put myself in that position. Like as I'm getting older, I will give. There's no lending. I'm like, here you go. There's nothing. You don't have to worry about them lying to you. Worry about them not, But I learned that. So just give. Don't lend. I'm too blessed to be put in a situation like that. Even if I keep saying at my age. So you can't have a meaningful life without sacrifice. Jordan Peterson. When I think about that quote, well, with like there again with some selfish people, this is not for the selfish people. But when you make sacrifices, and I remember when I would have my gatherings at my house, and I just when my family's here and my son and his girlfriend and everybody's around, and it's like I just sit back and I'm just like, man, this is beautiful. Like this is beautiful. We'll get together and spend that time together. And like I said, as a parent, you still think back at your child being younger and watching them grow into a young adult and responsible, respectful, and respectful adult. It feels good to see that. Feels good to see that. So I want to encourage you all. Your sacrifice may be silent, but they matter deeply. A father's love is often unspoken, but always felt. I want to thank you all for listening. This pod, if this episode helped you, share it with a brother or somebody that needs to hear it. And like I said, this sacrifices can sacrifices are good. They're good because all it does is it sets your children or the people that you're making the sacrifices up for the future. So thank you, golf. Thank you again for your time. Hope everybody have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
It's the drip from me, Strozar.